John Miller straightened his tie and took a deep breath. The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber loomed before him, their polished surface reflecting the stars visible through the vast dome above. Beside him, Olivia Grant checked the data tablet one last time. "There, Ambassador," she asked calmly. Ready as he was, John replied, "The Earth is counting on us." The doors opened with a soft hiss. Inside, representatives of more than 200 exotic species sat in expanding rows of seats surrounding the central speaking platform. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that John's mind struggled to understand their shapes. The chamber fell silent as the two humans walked to the center. A tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms rose from the highest level. "The Council recognizes the representatives of the planet Earth, Sol System," announced the alien in a voice that seemed to echo directly in John's mind rather than through his ears. "You can submit your membership petition." John took a step forward. "For 3 years, Earth has prepared for this moment after first contact with a Council exploration ship. 3 years of sharing technology, learning about galactic politics, and proving that humans were ready to join the interstellar community. Honored members of the Galactic Council," John began, his voice steady despite his racing art. "I bring greetings from Earth and its 8 billion citizens. We came in search of friendship and cooperation among the stars." Over the next hour, John and Olivia presented Earth's case. They showed holographic displays of human art, music, and scientific achievements. They explained how Earth overcame its violent past and came together under one global government. They offered unique perspectives and resources from Earth as valuable additions to the galactic community. When they finished, the council chamber remained silent for long moments. Then the representatives started talking among themselves. Their voices were a strange mix of sounds, clicks, and telepathic impressions that the human translators struggled to keep up with. Finally, a thin alien with gray skin and large dark eyes stood up. John recognized the delegate from Axoria, one of the oldest species on the council. "We hear Earth's petition," the Axorian said. "Now let's vote." A holographic display appeared above the chamber floor, showing the count as each representative voted. John felt his stomach drop as he watched the red marks of rejection far outweigh the green marks of acceptance. "Voting is complete," announced Axoriano. "By a clear majority, the council rejects Terra's petition for membership." "On what grounds?" Olivia asked, unable to hide or shock. The Axorian tilted his head in what could have been pity or contentment. "Your species is very unpredictable. Its evolutionary development is immature. Despite your demands for peace, your history shows aggressive tendencies. Their biological and psychological profiles indicate high adaptability but low stability. We work for years to prove ourselves worthy," John argued. "We comply with all requirements of the association guidelines." "The guidelines are just the minimum standards," another foreigner responded. "This one looks like a big praying mantis. The board must also judge the intangible qualities of potential members. In this, the Earth was found wanting." The blue-skinned alien spoke again. "The board's decision is final. Additionally, Earth is now designated as a quarantine zone. No council species may engage in direct trade or technology exchange with humans until their species demonstrates adequate progress." John felt a cold anger rise within him. "And how long can this last?" "Maybe 1,000 years, said if the Axorian. "Maybe never. Time will tell." The trip back to Earth was peaceful and tense. As the ship approached the blue-green planet, Olivia finally broke the silence. "What do we tell them?" she asked. John looked down at the world below, at the civil civilization that reached for the stars with hope and optimism only to be rejected as unworthy. "We tell you the truth," he said. "The Galactic Council has made its choice. Now let's do ours." As the ship descended toward the United Nations headquarters in New Geneva, John knew that humanity was at a crossroads. One way forward would not be to be part of the galactic community they hoped to join. Instead, they would forge their own path among the stars. 5 years have passed since the Galactic Council's rejection. Snow fell softly outside the windows of New Geneva's Great Assembly Hall, where representatives of all the nations of Earth gathered. The room vibrated with nervous energy as Catherine Young, the newly elected president of the United Earth Coalition, approached the podium. She looked at the faces in front of her: Chinese, Americans, Russians, Nigerians, Brazilians, and dozens of others. Never before have all of Earth's leaders agreed to unite under a single government. But the stars have given them a reason. My fellow men, Catherine began, her voice clear and strong. We gather today not in defeat, but in defiance. 5 years ago, the Galactic Council deemed us unworthy of joining their community. They called us unpredictable and aggressive. They labeled our house a quarantine zone. She paused, letting his words sink in. Yet in this rejection, we find unity. For the first time in our long and often troubled history, all the nations of the Earth are united. We signed this letter not because the aliens told us we should, but because we choose to do so. The United Earth Coalition was born today, not out of fear, but out of hope. The assembly erupted in applause. After centuries of conflict, humanity has achieved what once seemed impossible, a true global government with a single purpose, to reach the stars on its own terms. 6 months later, Dr. Alan Rodriguez wiped sweat from his brow as he studied the alien device. His laboratory, deep in the Rocky Mountains, housed the remains of a Galactic Council exploration ship that had crashed in the Arizona desert 15 years earlier. The Council demanded the return of the wreckage, but Earth kept it hidden, claiming it had burned completely. Any progress? Dr. Samantha Wright asked as she entered the lab with 2 cups of coffee. Alan nodded, grabbing a cup gratefully. I think I understand how their faster-than-light impulse manipulates space-time. Their approach is elegant, but unnecessarily complex. We can improve it. The Council would say that our minds are too primitive to improve their technology, Samantha said with a small smile. Then our primitive minds will prove them wrong, Alan replied. Together, they worked day and night with a team of the most brilliant scientists from around the world. The Frontier Initiative, funded by the combined resources of all the nations of Earth, gave them everything they needed. No expense has been spared in humanity's race to the stars. A year later, on a clear July morning, the prototype Asterisk ship, Defiance Asterisk, landed on a launch pad in the Gobi Desert. Its sleek hull gleamed in the sunlight, hiding the revolutionary technology within. The first human being built faster than light. Captain Laura Evans checked final systems as her crew took their positions. Below, in the control center, Alan and Samantha watched nerves. Alongside the leaders of the United Earth Coalition, Stable Engine Core reported First Officer Peter Kim, FTL drive reading normal. Laura took a deep breath. Asterisk Defiance Asterisk Control is ready for release. You are free to leave. Asterisk Defiance Asterisk came the answer. Good luck and good luck. The ship rose silently, its gravitational engines leaving no flames or smoke. It rose higher and higher until it became just a speck in the blue sky. Preparing for the FTL jump, Laura announced, coordinates set for Alpha Centauri. May I remind you, Peter said with a smile, that the board said FTL travel would be beyond our capabilities for at least a century. Let's taste them wrong, Laura replied. Engaging FTL drive in 3, 2, 1. The stars seemed to stretch, and then, with a flash of light that briefly outshone the sun, the asterisk. Defiance asterisk disappeared. 11 days later, the ship reappeared in Earth's orbit. The entire planet celebrated when Laura's voice appeared on every channel. United Earth Coalition, this is Captain Evans of the asterisk Defiance asterisk. We successfully visited Alpha Centauri and returned. The path to the stars is now open. In New Geneva, John Miller watched the celebrations on television. In his hands, he held the rejection letter from the Galactic Council. With a smile, he threw it into the fireplace and watched it to burn. Humanity has taken the first step towards forging its own empire among the stars. Proxima Centauri's red sun cast long shadows over New Horizon, humanity's first colony beyond the solar system. 23 years had passed since Earth's rejection by the Galactic Council, and much had changed. Paul Bennett stood on a hill overlooking the main settlement, watching workers build the newest dome. As director of the colony, he was proud of what they had built here, in this once barren world. Already 3,000 people have lived on New Horizon, with more arriving on every transport from Earth. Nice view, said a voice behind him. Paul turned and saw Lisa Chun, the colony's chief engineer, walking up the hill to join him. It gets better every day, Paul replied. Terraforming is advanced in the South Valley. We may see the first outdoor harvests next year. Lisa nodded and handed him a tablet. You need to see this. My team found something while digging the foundations for the new plant. Paul looked at the images on the screen and frowned. Are these structures? Ruins, Lisa confirmed. And they are ancient, much older than the Galactic Council, according to our dating methods. Whatever civilization built them traveled through space at least 50,000 years ago. Have you told Earth yet? Sending data now. But there is more. Lisa took the tablet back and opened a different set of images. We found technology inside. Technology still working. Paul's eyes widened. This is impossible. That's what I thought too. But look at this. She showed him a video of a metal sphere floating on a pedestal, glowing with a soft blue light. It's some kind of energy source. More efficient than anything we've ever seen. More efficient than anything the Council uses, based on what we know of its technology. The Council, said Paul slowly. Do you think they knew about this place? What was here about? Lisa shrugged. Perhaps. The star maps they shared with us before the rejection marked this entire system as uninhabitable and uninteresting. It seems like a huge oversight now. 3 days later, on the other side of the colony, Dr. Eric Foster carefully extracted a data crystal from the ruins. His hand shook with excitement as he placed it on the reader. His team built it based on symbols found on the walls. Do you think it will work? Asked his assistant Amy Wong. There's only one way to find out, Eric replied, activating the device. The air above the reader shone, and they were suddenly surrounded by stars. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy, points of light pulsing in various locations, many of them in systems the Council had never mentioned to humanity. Look, Amy whispered, these must be other sites like this. Other places where this ancient species left its technology. Eric nodded, his mind racing. And if I'm reading these symbols correctly, some of these worlds have resources that don't exist in Council space. Meanwhile, several light years away, the survey ship's Pathfinder Asterisk floated silently on the edge of an uncharted system. On the bridge, Captain Daniel Jackson studied sensor readings with increasing enthusiasm. Confirmed, the captain said his science officer, Rebecca Mills. The planet shows massive deposits of element 217. If the Council's maps were complete, they would have claimed this system centuries ago. Daniel sat back in his chair, considering the implications. It's almost as if someone deliberately prevented this information from being recorded. How were these feature-rich systems except for later? Or hidden? Rebecca suggested. But whose? And why? Before Daniel could respond, Communications Officer Kyle Peterson shouted, Captain, we're picking up a signal. Yeah, it's not human. And it's not from any type of council that we know of. Source? Daniel asked, suddenly alert. The fourth planet in the system. It's artificial, sir. I think someone is calling us. Daniel took a deep breath, opened a channel. Let's see who else is here in the places the Council doesn't want anyone to go. As the Pathfinder Asterisk moved toward the mysterious signal, back on New Horizon, Paul Bennett received a message from Earth. The United Earth Coalition was officially designating the ancient ruins as humanity's most critical research priority. Whatever secrets the forgotten civilization has left behind may prove to be humanity's greatest advantage in a galaxy that has rejected them. The first foothold among the stars proved to be more valuable than anyone could imagine. Commander Nicole Harris adjusted her uniform as the airlock operated. After 3 tense days of careful communication, this would be humanity's first face-to-face encounter with the Verox, an insectoid species that had also been rejected by the Galactic Council. Remember, she told the team, that they find direct eye contact a challenge. Keep your gaze down until they click their front paws. The airlock opened, revealing 3 tall, mantis-like aliens with iridescent exoskeletons. Each had 4 legs, 2 pairs of arms, and compound eyes that glowed with an intelligence that seemed strange yet familiar. Greetings, Nichols said, keeping his eyes down. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. The tallest Verox stamped its front paws. The pleasure is ours, humans. We have watched the rapid expansion of your species with great interest. Nickel looked up, meeting the alien's gaze. We have a lot to discuss. 6 months later, the first human Verox trade agreement was signed aboard the United Earth Coalition Station Harmony Asterisk, orbiting New Horizon. Commerce Minister William Parker carefully shook hands with the Verox representative as cameras recorded the historic moment. With this agreement, William announced, we have established the Mutual Prosperity Zone, a framework for free trade outside of Council regulation. The Verox representative agreed. For 200 cycles, The board excluded us for our chaotic market practices, but failed to understand that innovation requires chaos. News of the alliance spread quickly. Within a year, ships from 3 other non-council species arrived at the human colonies, seeking similar agreements. Earth's fleet grew from dozens to hundreds of ships as trade routes expanded. Free ports emerged in systems that the municipality never bothered to claim, becoming bustling centers of commerce. In New Eden, Earth's 7th colony world, Governor Steve Jackson read the Galactic Council's message with growing anger. They have the courage to warn us against fraternizing with unstable elements. He asked his counselor, Linda Carter. Linda smiled slightly. I believe the appropriate response was sent by President Young. Earth will choose its own friends. Steve nodded. Has the Varrock shipment arrived? Just anchored. 50 tons of rare minerals in exchange for our agricultural products, and they brought representatives from the Brel Collective. Another species the Council kept at bay. What is their story? The Brels are expert geneticists. The Council found his biological research ethically concerning, which probably means the Brel were better at it than the Council species. Meanwhile, at the edge of human space, the merchant ship Venture floated in a nebula, meeting up with a Council space smuggler. Captain George Russell waited in the cargo hold as the alien ship docked. The alien that emerged was a Navurian, a Council species known for its 6 eyes and philosophical nature. This one seemed nervous, constantly looking behind him, as if expecting chase. You have the items? Asked George. The Navurian handed him a small briefcase. Board technology. Forbidden to share with quarantine species. Yet here you are, sharing. George observed. Why? Because the Council becomes stagnant, said the Navurian. They reject new ideas and new species out of fear. Many of us now question its wisdom. George delivered a container of Earth's finest coffee beans, which are now worth more than gold on certain Council worlds. It seems that the board's rejection could be the best thing that ever happened to us. When the Venture returned to human space, a Council patrol ship watched from a distance but did not interfere. Your captain sent a routine report, expanding human trade activities. Recommend greater monitoring. The report was archived and forgotten in the vast bureaucracy of the Galactic Council, whose members still believe that humanity would remain an isolated curiosity for centuries to come. They did not realize that Earth now had diplomatic or trade relations with 15 non-Council species. They failed to realize that humanity was building not just colonies, but also alliances. They failed to understand that rejection only made humans more determined to succeed and to help others who were rejected do the same. In the shadows between the stars, a new power was emerging. Dr. Gregory Martin wipes sweat from his brow as he makes final adjustments to the shield generator. 20 years have passed since humanity's expansion beyond Earth began. Now, at a research center orbiting the gas giant Titan Prime, human and Varrock scientists work side by side. Stable power levels at 120%, said Cassette, his Varrock's colleague. The insectoid's jaws clicked with excitement. This shield design is 40% stronger than the board standard. Gregory nodded and uses 30% less energy. The ancient ruins of New Horizon gave us the theoretical basis, but its people's understanding of crystalline structures made it work. On a nearby screen, they watched a test drone fires energy weapons at a small satellite protected by its new shield. The shots hit an invisible barrier harmlessly. The board would never have allowed this cooperation, Cassette noted. They keep the species separate to maintain control of technology. Their loss, Gregory responded with a smile. Our gain. 3 months later, in orbit around Proxima Centauri, scientist Michelle Johnson floated through the zero-gravity design laboratory at New Horizon shipyards. Holographic displays showed plans for a new class of human vessel, smaller, faster, and more adaptable than anything the standardized municipal fleets could sense. The Proxima files changed everything. She explained to the visiting officials from Earth. The ancients understood that the design of ships should adapt to the species that used them, and not the other way around. She pointed to a hologram of a Council destroyer. Their ships are all built to the same model, regardless of the species that sails them. Inefficient and inflexible. Then she pointed to the elegant design floating above them. Our ships are built around human strengths, our adaptability, and our problem-solving under pressure. This ship can operate with a crew of 1,200 people, can land on a planet or remain in space for years. One of the employees, an older man with gray hair, studied the drawing closely. How long until it's ready? The first 5 are already under construction. Michelle replied. The pioneering Asterisk class will be operational within 6 months. At the edge of human space, near the border with Draxian territory, the colony's transport Asterisk, New Beginning Asterisk, sent out a distress call. Pirates attacked the lightly armed vessel, which was transporting families to one of the newer colony worlds. Before the pirates could board, 6 ships appeared on the shipping sensors. These were not the boxy, practical ships of Earth's defense fleet, but something new and elegant, moving with incredible speed. This is Admiral Frank Thompson of the United Earth Coalition. A transmission came to both the transport and the pirates. You are in a protected space. Retreat immediately. The pirate leader laughed. Our sensors show that your ships are half the size of ours. Human. You are unarmed. Final warning, Thompson responded calmly. When the pirates opened fire, their weapons harmlessly struck the new shields, without a single shot penetrating. Thompson sighed. Direct only your engines. There are no casualties if we can avoid it. Their ships fired precision strikes that disabled the pirate ships without destroying them. In less than 3 minutes, the battle was over. Later, when the pirates were arrested, the captain of the transport approached Thompson. These are not standard Earth ships, he noted. I've never seen anything like them. Thompson smiled. New design, just finished the shakedown cruise. How many more do we have? Not enough, but soon. 2 weeks later, 3 Draxian warships, the military enforcers of the Galactic Council, attempted to block a human supply route, claiming that humans were violating the Council's territory. They expected an easy show of force against what they believed to be inferior ships. Instead, they found a fleet of new Asterisk Pioneer ships. When the Draxians' warning shots went off, the human ships didn't even register shield damage. This is impossible, Commander Draxian said as his sensors showed the readings. Their technology must be centuries behind ours. Admiral Thompson opened a channel to the flagship Draxian. You are in the sovereign space of the United Earth Coalition and our allies. We suggest you reconsider your position. Without firing a single shot in response, the human fleet forced the Draxians to retreat, sending shockwaves throughout the Council. Not only has humanity expanded beyond expectations, it has also surpassed the Council's technology. The rejection that was intended to contain humanity forced it, instead, to innovate beyond all predictions. New Horizons' Great Hall was filled with representatives of 24 different species. Elizabeth Howard, Earth's chief diplomat, stood in the center of the room. It has been 30 years since the Galactic Council rejected humanity. Now, Earth was at the center of something new. Today we formalize what has been building for years, Elizabeth said. The coalition of independent systems is no longer just an idea, but a reality. She put together a simple document, written in all 18 languages of the member species. This charter declares that all sentient beings have the right to self-determination. No species can claim superiority over another. We are together, equal in our diversity. The Varix representative clicked approval. For centuries, the Council told us that our ways were too chaotic. Today we have proven that chaos and order can exist side by side. A representative of the Gora, huge beings with stone skin, resonated with his deep voice. The Council considered us too slow to join their ranks. Yet they come to us when they need buildings that last for millennia. Coalition of Independent Systems was born. 6 months later, in the agricultural world of New Idaho, Governor Susan Clark looked at the dying fields that stretched to the horizon. Without a solution, we will lose 80% of the harvest. And not just here. The plague appeared on 3 other worlds. Brevmet, Oconselho, Els Experimentum Falas de Calhita Simulhandis, MSCU Espaço, Bendice KLs Tambum Neo and Contraram Umasoluco, Enteo nos mesmos en contrarimos Susan declara, o que você precisa? Paucos dias, cientistas de toda a coligiceo reuniram se, New Idaho. Entre eles estava uma delegação de seres vegetais thraxi que podiam se comunicar como vegetação, nível celular. O Conselho os regida como estranhos há 2 séculos. Laboratorio estabelecido as pressas, Ben trabalhão ao lado de cientista Thraxi Lori. Seus apêndices semelhantes a videiras tocaram suavemente o trigo infectado. As plantas estão com medo, explica Lori. Eles lutam contra um inimigo que não podem ver. Você pode ajudá-los a entender o que está acontecendo? Ben perguntou. As folhas de Lori farfalharam, no que os humanos aprenderam ser uma expressão pensativa. Talvez, mas primeiro precisamos dar-lhes força. Durante semanas eles trabalharão, combinando a compreensão Thraxi de consciência das plantas com a engenharia genética humana. Quando a silico finalmente chegou, ela era elegante em sua simplicidade. Neo, a uma cura. Ben explicou aos representantes de coalizão. Mas uma adaptação. O trigo modificado não vi mais a praga como inimiga, mas como parceira. Eles podem crescer juntos. Os resultados espalharão assim pelos mundos de coligação mais rapidamente do que a própria praga. Em poucos meses, as colhidas foram salvas. Os campos de trigo de New Idaho ficarão dourados novamente. Chegaram relatos de que os conselhos mundiais ainda estavam lutando com quebras de colhidas. A sua abordagem rígida à modificação genética impediu o tipo de silico criativa que a coligação abarcou. Na Terra, o presidente Roy Adams met with the International Council Planetary in the reconstructed United Nations building in New Geneva. The video screens showed representatives from all 17 colony worlds. The Coalition of Independent Systems now includes 24 species and 43 inhabited star systems. Roy announced that trade has increased by 300% in the last 5 years. Our combined scientific knowledge has advanced medicine, agriculture, and space travel beyond what any one species could achieve alone. An aide handed him a message. Roy read it and smiled. I have just been informed that 3 former council species have formally requested to join our coalition. They see our prosperity, our innovation, and our freedom. They want to be part of what we are building. He looked around at the faces of the human leaders of Earth and its colonies. 30 years ago, the Galactic Council rejected us. They said we were too unpredictable, too aggressive, too immature. They meant it as insults. We turned them into strengths. Outside the building, ships from a dozen different species filled Earth's skies, a visible reminder that humanity had not just survived rejection. They prospered because of it. On the Galactic Council's hub world of Axoria Prime, Counselor Dren paced nervously in his private chamber. Reports coming from all over the council space filled their screens. None of them are good. 6 more member worlds have asked to open trade with the Human Coalition, his advisor said. And 3 threaten to abandon the council entirely if we refuse. Dren's gray skin paled even more. This cannot continue. The council has existed for 10,000 years. These humans have existed among the stars for only 40 years. However, his influence grows daily, the aide said. Their technology is now equal to or superior to ours in many areas. Their economic zone expands while ours stagnates. Outside, through the glass windows, Dren could see the protesters in the streets. Citizens of the council worlds demanding reforms, greater freedoms, and open exchange with the coalition of independent systems. Meanwhile, in New Horizons' diplomatic quarter, Ambassador Julia Montgomery welcomed a nervous visitor to her office. The Trilaxian scientist constantly looked around, as if afraid of being seen. You can speak freely here, Julia assured him. This building is protected from surveillance. I've spent my life researching quantum mechanics, the Trilaxian said, but the advice restricts the questions we can ask, the experiments we can perform. They say that some knowledge is very dangerous. Julia nodded sympathetically, and you disagree. Knowledge itself is never dangerous, only the way it is used. The scientist placed a data crystal on her desk. My team wants to continue our work here, away from municipal restrictions. There are 15 of us. The coalition would welcome you, Julia said. Science thrives on freedom of inquiry. This meeting was one of dozens that took place in the coalition space. Scientists, artists, philosophers from the council, all seeking asylum to pursue work considered too radical by their increasingly fearful government. Near the edge of council space, the ancient star Betelgeuse had shown signs of instability for centuries. The council scientists assured everyone that it would remain stable for thousands of years more. They were wrong. The star erupted in a massive stellar event, not quite a supernova, but devastating nonetheless. Radiation and stellar debris threatened the Council world of Mira, home to 6 billion beings. Admiral Richard Taylor of the Coalition Rapid Response Fleet received the emergency signal during the patrol. Without waiting for orders, he directed all 30 ships under his command towards Mira. "This is a world of advice, your second in command." Captain Alice Brown pointed out that they had refused our help before. "People are in danger," Richard replied simply. "Politics can wait." The Coalition fleet arrived 3 days before the Council's own evacuation ships. Richard opened a channel to the planet's government. "This is Admiral Taylor of the Coalition of Independent Systems. We have transport capacity for 1 million people and medical facilities for the injured. We are here to help." After a brief hesitation, Governor Miran responded, "Us. Accept your assistance, Admiral. Thanks." For 2 weeks, Coalition and Council ships worked side by side to evacuate as many as possible before the radiation front hit. The rescued Mirans watched the humans in awe. The species they taught them were dangerous and unpredictable, and they worked tirelessly alongside other species in the Coalition to save lives. On Earth, President Samuel Wright addressed the Assembly of the United Planets about the crisis. "Today, we don't see Council citizens or Coalition citizens, just people in need. This rescue operation represents what we represent at our best: cooperation across borders, valuing all sentient life, and reaching out even to those who once rejected us." Back on Axoria Prime, the Council chambers erupted into chaos when news arrived that a third of its member species had now formally requested to join negotiations with the Coalition. "We can't stop this." An elderly counselor admitted that maybe we shouldn't try. Counselor Dren, who voted against humanity's membership 40 years earlier, looked at the latest reports. The species he had rejected as too aggressive was now leading the largest rescue operation in galactic history, saving the very people who rejected them. For the first time, he wondered if the Council had made a terrible mistake. 50 years have passed since Earth's rejection by the Galactic Council. On this historic day, the streets of New Geneva were full of beings of more than 40 different species. They watched as an elegant diplomatic craft, in Council markings, descended through Earth's atmosphere. President Maria Collins was on the landing platform, flanked by representatives from all human colonies and Coalition member species. The craft touched down silently, its ramp extending to touch Earth's ground for the first time in 5 decades. Supreme Advisor Zex Terrell of the Axorians emerged. He was old now, his blue skin faded to a pale blue. As a junior counselor 50 years earlier, he cast the deciding vote against Earth. Now he arrived, unguarded, into the heart of what many called the human empire. "Welcome to Earth," said Supreme Counselor Maria, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting. Zex Terrell studied her hand briefly and then held it with his index finger. "Thank you for allowing this visit, President Collins." Inside the reconstructed United Nations building, the two leaders sat opposite each other as cameras broadcast the meeting to trillions of people across the galaxy. "The Galactic Council has existed for 10,000 years, Zex Terrell began. "In all this time, we have never faced a challenge like that of humanity." Maria smiled politely. "We never intended to challenge him." "No," the alien agreed. "You simply wanted to join us. And in our pride, we reject you." He placed a data crystal on the table between them. "This contains formal recognition of the Coalition of Independent Systems as the legitimate government of its member worlds, including Earth and all human colonies. The Council finally recognizes our right to exist," Maria noted. "After 50 years, we recognize more than this only." Zex Terrell said calmly, "We recognize our failure." The Axorian looked out the window at the city below, where humans and aliens walked together in peace. "When we rejected humanity, we expected you to remain isolated and primitive for centuries. Instead, you looked for other rejected species. You built something new, something better." "We had no choice," Maria replied. "Rejection forced us to find another path." "Yes," Zex Terrell agreed. "And now a third of the former Council members have joined his coalition. Another third maintained dual membership. The Council itself is," he paused, searching for the word, "dissolving." Maria leaned forward. "That was never our goal." "Maybe not, but it's reality." The alien's large eyes studied her. I came here today not only to recognize your coalition, but to ask if there might be a place in it for the rest of the Council worlds. Silence filled the room. After 50 years, the situation has completely changed. Later that night, Maria was with John Miller on the balcony of the presidential residence. Although elderly, John still served as a counselor, the man who witnessed humanity's rejection firsthand. What are you going to say to him? Asked Joao. The same thing we said to all the species that joined the coalition. Maria replied, all are welcome as equals. No exceptions, not even for the Axorians. John smiled. Even after they led the vote to reject us. Especially after this, Maria said, we are not building an empire based on revenge or dominance. That would make us no better than the worst of the advice. From their vantage point, they could see the lights of the orbiting ships. Ships from dozens of species working and trading together. The council failed because it tried to make everyone equal. John noted, we were successful because we celebrated differences. The next morning, in a ceremony broadcast across the galaxy, Supreme Counselor Zex Terrell signed the coalition charter on behalf of the Axorian people. No longer the rulers of a dying council, they would become just another equal voice in the growing alliance of humanity. At the end of the ceremony, Maria addressed the trillions watching. 50 years ago, we were deemed unworthy of joining the galactic community. Today, we welcome the architects of this rejection as partners. This is not a human victory, but a victory for all who believe in cooperation over control, diversity over uniformity, and growth over stagnation. Across coalition space, lightning in every form celebrated not the fall of an ancient power, but the birth of something greater, a true community of stars where everyone could find a place. Rejected once, humanity not only survived, it changed the galaxy forever.